Kyoto just tripled its hotel tax to $67 a night for luxury stays. And 35 minutes down the train line, Nara charges you zero accommodation tax, lets you walk into UNESCO temple grounds for free, and has cherry blossoms right now with about a tenth of the crowds. So the question isn't whether Nara is cheap. The question is why anyone is still defaulting to Kyoto without checking what's next door. Welcome to Phil and H Travel. Is it worth it? Today we're in Nara, Japan's original ancient capital, a city that was the center of Japanese civilization a full century before Kyoto even existed. In 2026, as Kyoto's costs climb and its streets buckle under 50 million visitors a year, Nara is quietly positioning itself as the smarter move. But is it genuinely worth staying overnight, or is there a reason most tourists still treat it as a half-day side trip and leave before sunset? Yeah, so let's unpack the reality of that premise right away. I mean, our mission for this deep dive is to rigorously and honestly pretty brutally break down the logistics for you. Right, the real numbers. Exactly. We're looking at the real out-of-pocket costs and the completely unfiltered experiences of traveling to Nara right now. Because by the end of this conversation, you're going to have a definitive verdict on exactly how to tackle this city.
And who it's actually built for.
Yeah, and who should honestly just cross it off their itinerary.
Yeah.
Because the landscape of travel in the Kansai region is shifting dramatically. The old guidebook advice.
It just doesn't hold up anymore.
It really doesn't. Like, I look at Kyoto right now, and it honestly reminds me of a nightclub with an absolutely exorbitant cover charge.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying top dollar just to get in the door.
Just to stand shoulder to shoulder with millions of other people.
Right. Trying to catch a glimpse of the DJ. And then right next door, literally a 35-minute train ride away, Nara is this incredible open-air lounge. Free entry. The drinks are cheaper.
Much cheaper.
Yeah, and the atmosphere's arguably more authentic. But I have to push back on this immediately, right at the top. Is Nara's free entry model just a desperation play? Like, because they simply can't compete with Kyoto's marketing machine.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Is it genuinely a superior value proposition, or are they just begging you to visit? Does it actually have the depth to keep you there overnight?
Well, I mean, it is absolutely not a desperation play. It's a completely different philosophical approach to preservation combined with just a staggering historical pedigree.
Okay, lay out for me.
So when you look at the sheer historical weight of Nara, it almost defies comprehension. We're talking about 8 separate UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and they are packed into this remarkably compact geographical area.
Right.
It's home to the world's largest wooden building, the Daibutsu-den at Tudaiji, and of course, it has the famous Nara Park, where over 1,200 wild deer roam completely free.
Just wandering among the ancient cedars.
Exactly. But you've hit on the central tension of the city, which is this massive disconnect between its pedigree and how it's actually consumed by travelers.
You're talking about the day tripper problem.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The vast majority of visitors, they treat Nara like a museum exhibit rather than a living city.
Yeah, they just pop in and pop out.
Right. They arrive on the train at 10 in the morning, do a highly caffeinated rapid-fire lap of the park, feed a deer for a photo opportunity, glance at a temple, and then they flee back to Osaka or Kyoto by 3 in the afternoon.
So they completely miss the actual vibe of the city.
Completely. They never see the city wake up, and they never see it go to sleep.
And the local government is acutely, almost painfully aware of this. Like, they are actively trying to re-engineer the entire local tourism economy to fix it.
Yeah, they've been pushing hard.
Right now, the Nara prefectural government is executing this massive, heavily funded public push. Their explicit target is to boost total tourism consumption to 420 billion yen by 2030.
Wow.
Yeah. And to give you context for how ambitious that is, that represents a 2.3 times increase from their current baseline, which is 180.7 billion yen.
That is a massive jump.
It is. And from a purely logistical standpoint, you do not more than double your municipal tourism revenue by selling an extra 1 million packs of deer crackers.
No, definitely not.
You do it by getting people to sleep in your beds, eat dinner in your restaurants, and pay for local services.
Which is exactly why you're seeing this sudden influx of investment into the evening economy. I mean, they've just launched these new nighttime attractions at the Nara Park bus terminal.
Oh, right, the illuminations.
Yeah, they're creating illuminations, night markets, cultural performances. They are trying so hard to give you a compelling reason to linger after the sun goes down, to break that psychological barrier where you feel compelled to catch the 3 o'clock train back to your hotel in Kyoto.
But let's look at the external forces driving this, because this is where the macroeconomic picture gets super fascinating.
Okay.
Nara isn't just pulling tourists. Kyoto is actively pushing them away. Like, Kyoto is forcing the issue with aggressive taxation.
Oh, the new tax hike.
Yes. As of March 1st, 2026, Kyoto implemented this highly aggressive tiered accommodation tax. I mean, it is a masterclass in monetizing overtours.
How bad is it?
Well, if you stay in a budget place like under 6,000 yen, you pay a 200 yen tax per night. Annoying, but fine. But it scales up fiercely. It jumps to 1,000 yen, then 4,000 yen.
Ouch.
And if you're booking luxury accommodation over 100,000 yen a night, Kyoto hits you with a 10,000 yen tax every single night.
10,000 yen.
Yeah, that's roughly $67 just for the municipal privilege of sleeping inside the city limits.
And if we look at Nara's equivalent tax.
Zero. Absolute zero. There's no accommodation tax in Nara. And you really have to factor this into the broader financial reality of traveling to Japan right now.
Because of the visa fees.
Exactly.
Oh.
The national government proposed hiking the tourist visa fee to 15,000 yen, which is roughly $100 for a single entry visa.
Right, so your upfront, non-negotiable cost of just getting your passport stamped is rising.
Yep, and that macroeconomic squeeze makes every single yen of savings on the ground at the destination absolutely vital for you as a modern traveler.
It's a really fascinating shift in the regional power dynamic, and what's most revealing is that it's not just the budget traveler or the backpacker who benefits from this tax loophole.
No, the luxury market is moving in.
Yes, the global luxury market is taking notice of Nara in a way we haven't seen in modern history. The perfect example, and perhaps the most striking architectural project in Japan right now, is the Hoshino Resorts development.
Oh, this project is wild to me.
In April 2026, they are opening the Nara Prison Hotel.
Literally paying premium luxury rates to sleep in a jail cell. It's so strange.
But you have to understand the architectural and historical significance of what they've done. I mean, they haven't just bought a modern concrete block. They've taken the former Nara prison, which is this stunning Meiji-era structure built in 1908.
Okay, fair.
It's the only surviving example of Japan's 5 great Meiji-era prisons. When Japan was rapidly modernizing to prove itself to the Western powers, they built these incredibly elaborate red brick Romanesque complexes.
That's gorgeous.
It's beautiful. And Hoshino has spent years painstakingly converting this historically protected site into a 48-room luxury hotel. And right next door, opening April 27th, is the Nara Prison Museum.
Okay, so it's not just a gimmick.
No, this isn't some gimmicky themed hotel. This is a massive injection of high-end, storytelling-rich infrastructure. It signals to the global market that Nara is a standalone luxury destination.
All right, I see the appeal of the architecture, but it brings me back to my initial challenge, right? You've got the zero tax, you've got these incredible new luxury properties, but none of that matters if the actual experience of being in the city doesn't hold up.
Sure.
So to understand if it's genuinely worth your time, we have to look at the geography, the historical context, and crucially, the calendar. Because Nara in April is a completely different planet than Nara in August.
Completely different?
So geographically, we are in the Kansai region. Nara sits nestled in a valley between Osaka and Kyoto. It's highly accessible. Under 40 minutes by train from both of those major urban hubs.
And historically, we really cannot overstate the importance of that specific location. I mean, Nara was Japan's first truly permanent capital from 710 to 784 AD.
The Nara period.
Yes. This was the absolute epicenter of politics, religion, and culture in Japan long before the imperial court ever packed up and moved to Kyoto.
Right.
The city was originally called Heijokyo, and it was modeled directly on the grid layout of Chunyan, which was the capital of the Tang dynasty in China.
Oh, interesting.
The historical weight of that era is literally embedded in the soil there. But how you experience that weight and how much friction you encounter trying to see it depends entirely on what month you step off the train.
Totally. So let's run the hard numbers on the calendar. Let's start with the winter freeze, January and February.
Brr.
Yeah, the reality of Kansai winters is that they're bone-chilling. You're looking at daily high temperatures between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius.
You really have to bundle up.
You do. But here is the logistical payoff for braving the cold. There are minimal tourists, and hotel prices hit their absolute annual rock bottom. Expect to pay 30 to 40% below the peak spring rates.
And if you're willing to wear a heavy coat, you gain access to cultural events that the fair weather spring crowds completely miss. Like on the fourth Saturday of January, Nara holds the Wakakusa Yamayaki.
The grass-burning festival.
Yes, it is a spectacular grass-burning festival. The origins are debated. Some say it started as a boundary dispute between rival temples. Others say it was to drive away wild boars.
Classic.
But today, they literally set the entire hillside of Mount Wakakusa ablaze. The winter sky lights up in bright orange. There's a massive fireworks display over the city, and you can experience this monumental visual event without being crushed by elbows.
That sounds incredible. But then the weather breaks, and we hit March and April, peak cherry blossom season. The spreadsheet turns entirely red.
Oh yes, Nara Park itself typically blooms from late March to mid-April. But the real draw in this prefecture, and something you must plan meticulously for, is Mount Hoshino.
Ah, Hoshino.
It's located about 90 minutes south of Nara City by train, and it is arguably the most famous, most visually arresting sakura site in all of Japan.
How many trees are we talking about?
The mountain is covered in over 30,000 cherry trees.
Wow.
And because of the elevation changes, the blooming rolls up the mountain in stages. So from the lower Shimo-senbon area all the way to the Oku-senbon at the peak. The Hoshino Sakura Festival runs from March 20th to April 19th in 2026.
Okay, so from a logistics and cost perspective, this is the most dangerous time for your wallet.
Without a doubt.
Hotel prices in Nara City during this window jump 40 to 60% above their baseline average. So if you're traveling during this time, my golden rule applies without exception. You must book your accommodation at least 2 months ahead.
Do not try to wing it.
No. Do not show up at Kansai International Airport in early April hoping to figure it out, or you will find yourself paying luxury prices for a smoking room in a budget business hotel.
Ugh, the worst. But moving into May and June, the frenzy calms down a bit. The temperatures are wonderfully pleasant, usually hovering between 18 and 25 degrees Celsius.
That's perfect weather.
It is, and the crowds recede to manageable levels. But you do have to keep in mind that the Japanese rainy season, known as tsuju, typically hits in mid-June.
Right.
It's a persistent, drizzly rain that can honestly dampen a day of temple hopping.
Yeah, that's fair. Then we cross into July and August. And I'm going to be entirely blunt about this. The weather is brutal.
The heat is no joke. It's a defining feature of the experience.
It really is. We are talking about daily highs of 33 degrees Celsius, combined with a punishing, suffocating humidity. Because Nara is situated in a basin, the air simply stops moving.
It just sits there.
You step outside and instantly start sweating. However, if you're strictly budget conscious, an average hotel in August drops down to about $85 a night.
And the silver lining to enduring that August heat is the Nara Tokei Lantern Festival.
Which is beautiful.
It's stunning. For 10 days in early August, they light up the park, the temple approaches, and the deer paths with tens of thousands of individual candles.
Tens of thousands.
Yes, the entire landscape just glows. It's breathtakingly beautiful, deeply romantic, and highly spiritual. But as you said, you will absolutely be sweating through your clothes while you look at it.
Totally. Then September and October bring a different kind of weather threat. Typhoon risk.
Which can derail everything.
Yeah, the storms can shut down the regional train networks for a day or two. But if you can dodge the typhoons, the autumn air is crisp and clear. Then, late October into November, the autumn foliage begins.
And seeing the wild deer walking among the brilliant red maple leaves and golden ginkgo trees is iconic. It's a photographer's absolute dream scenario.
Oh, for sure.
But with that profound beauty comes the inevitable return of the massive crowds.
Exactly. In November, hotel prices creep right back up, generally 20 to 30% above the baseline. Though it is important to note, even peak November crowds in Nara never hit the suffocating levels of Kyoto's peak season.
That's true.
Finally, we hit December. Quiet, cold, reflective. But I need to call out a massive statistical anomaly here that terrifies people doing their budget research.
For pricing data.
Yes. If you look at automated travel data aggregates online, Nara's December hotel average looks apocalyptic. It spikes to $449 a night.
Which is incredibly misleading if you don't understand how Japanese domestic travel works.
Completely misleading. That data point is heavily skewed by a very limited supply of ultra-luxury ryokans, jacking up their prices astronomically for wealthy domestic travelers celebrating the New Year holidays.
By the holiday surge.
Because Nara lacks massive 500-room corporate mega hotels to balance out the median, a few expensive properties pull the whole average up. So if you're a standard international traveler, do not let that $449 average scare you off. Budget and mid-range options in December remain solidly around $40 to $60 a night.
And regardless of what month you choose to visit, there is one crucial fundamental insight that defines the entire Nara experience. You know those suffocating crowds you hear people complain about?
Yeah.
They only exist in a rigidly predictable 4-hour window.
Ah, the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. crush.
Precisely. If you are standing at the gates of Todaiji Temple between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., especially in cherry blossom or autumn foliage season, it will feel packed.
Miserably packed.
Yeah. The entrance to Nara Park near the Kintetsu Station on a Saturday afternoon, packed. Mount Hoshino during peak bloom weekends, overwhelming.
So what's the trick?
If you shift your schedule, if you're there before 9 a.m. or after 4 p.m., those exact same spaces magically empty out. It feels almost entirely private. The tour buses leave, the light changes to this soft golden hue. The ambient noise drops so much that you can actually hear the wind in the cedars, and the city finally reveals its true character.
Which brings us perfectly to the mechanics of your arrival. Let's talk about the exact logistics of getting there. Because how and when you arrive dictates how much time you have before that 4-hour crowd window closes.
Right. You need a strategy.
Most international travelers fly into KIX Kansai International Airport. Remember, there is no commercial airport in Nara itself. So from KIX, you essentially have two main transit plays.
What's the fastest?
The fastest, most seamless route is to take the JR Haruka Express train to Tenneji Station in Osaka. That leg takes 30 minutes and costs 1,740 yen. At Tenneji, you walk across the platform and transfer to the Yamatoji line, heading east down to JR Nara Station.
Okay, pretty easy.
Yeah, that's another 2 minutes and 470 yen. So your total journey from baggage claim to Nara is roughly 75 minutes, and it costs 2,210 yen, or about $15 US.
Okay, what's the alternative for someone watching every penny?
The slightly cheaper, but significantly slower route. You take the Nankai line from the airport up to Namba Station in central Osaka, then you navigate a rather long walking transfer to the Kintetsu line out to Nara.
With luggage.
With luggage. That takes 90 minutes, but only costs 1,900 yen, about $13. So you're trading 15 minutes of your life and adding a stressful transfer with bags to save $2. Personally, I think that's a false economy.
Yeah.
Just take the Haruka.
I completely agree.
Now, if you are already based in the region, the logistics are a breeze. From Kyoto Station, take the direct Kintetsu railway line. It takes 35 minutes, costs 760 yen, so $5. From Osaka Namba, also Kintetsu, 35 minutes, 680 yen, $4.50.
And it is the moment you step out of that Kintetsu station that the sensory profile of Nara hits you. It's a remarkable, almost cinematic transition.
Because you start right in the commercial thick of it. Like you emerge from underground and it's quite jarring.
You do. You walk out onto Sanjo-dori, which is this bustling modern shopping street. There are aggressive mochi shops, brightly lit souvenir stalls, convenience stores, and deer-themed absolutely everything.
Right.
It feels like standard, slightly chaotic Japanese tourist infrastructure. But as you walk east, within just a 5-minute stroll towards the park, the shift is immediate and profound.
How so?
Well, the modern pavement gives way to crushed gravel and ancient forest. The smell changes, you leave the exhaust fumes and fried food behind, and you hit this immense wave of damp cedar, earth, and moss.
Oh, this sounds incredible.
The auditory landscape shifts completely, too. The retail noise fades, replaced by birdsong and the very distinct, sharp clack of deer hooves on stone pads.
And the temperature actually changes. Like, I've measured it. It's a real meteorological phenomenon.
Yes. When you step under the massive forest canopy in Nara Park, the physical temperature drops noticeably. In the brutal heat of a July afternoon, crossing that threshold is a genuine physiological relief. The trees create their own microclimate.
That's wild.
And then, of course, there are the deer. Wild deer just casually approaching you on the sidewalk. They aren't in enclosures. They share the pedestrian infrastructure. And if you bow to them, many of them will visibly bow back.
Wait, really?
Yes. It's surreal. It forces you into this strange, reverent calmness, even when there are other people around.
This sensory transition plays perfectly into what we call the 24-hour arc.
Ah, yes.
Right. If you arrive by early afternoon, you drop your bags, and you can walk from the Kintetsu station to the park in 5 minutes. You arrive, grab a coffee, and simply wait out the remaining day trippers. By late afternoon, the massive crowds evaporate.
They all go home.
Exactly. The tour guides put their flags away. The park transforms. You spend your evening walking among the 3,000 stone and bronze lanterns at Kasuga Taisha in total peace. You have an incredible dinner. And the next morning, at dawn, you have the empty temple approaches and the deer entirely to yourself before the 10 a.m. trains arrive.
That 24-hour arc is the absolute secret to unlocking Nara. But to execute it, you need somewhere to sleep, which leads us to the crucial topic of accommodation costs and geographic zones.
Right. This is where we break down the real numbers and the spatial reality of the city. Nara's accommodation essentially clusters into two distinct geographic zones, and choosing the right one dictates the rhythm of your trip.
Let's hear it.
First, you have the Kintetsu Nara Station and Naramachi area. This zone is highly walkable, super convenient for finding diverse food and easy transit, and honestly, it's the best strategic base for most travelers.
And the second zone? The second zone is the east side of Nara Park. This area is much quieter, heavily wooded, and much more traditional. It feels beautifully secluded, but the logistical trade-off is that it requires a bit more walking or a short local bus ride to get back to the main dining areas at night.
All right, let's run the exact price tiers so you know what you're looking at. For the budget backpacker, you're looking at guest houses and hostels ranging from 2,500 to 4,000 yen a night. That is roughly $17 to $27. I want to specifically name drop Guest House Nara Ann here. It's located near the park, it consistently scores 5 stars for cleanliness, and you can get a private room for about $76. Or a dorm bed starting from that baseline 2,500 yen.
That's incredibly reasonable.
It is, however, you need to understand the structural limitation here. Nara has significantly fewer hostels than Kyoto. Because the backpacker market has traditionally treated it as a day trip, the budget inventory just isn't massive. In cherry blossom season, that budget inventory vanishes entirely. You have to book ahead.
Good tip. Moving to the mid-range, for a couple, there are some fantastic, highly competitive options. If you want pure frictionless convenience, the Hotel Nikko Nara is located directly next to the JR station. That runs from 15,500 yen a night, which is about $103, and critically, that includes an excellent breakfast. Then there's Whale Nara, offering excellent stripped-down value from 8,240 yen, about $55, though that is a room-only rate without meals.
Pretty solid.
But my absolute top pick for the mid-range traveler looking for authenticity is the Nipponia Hotel Naramachi.
Oh, the Sake Brewery. We have
Yeah.
to talk about how cool this is.
Yes. It is a breathtaking conversion. It is actually the world's first sake-themed hotel. They took an historic sake brewery and its kura, the traditional earthen-walled stale houses used for fermentation, and turned them into guest rooms.
That's amazing. What's the price?
It starts from 30,240 yen a night, which is about $202, but that is half board, meaning it includes both a high-end breakfast and an elaborate dinner.
Oh, then that's a steal.
The atmosphere, the meticulous preservation of the wooden architecture, the thermal properties of sleeping in a building designed to keep sake cool, and the sheer storytelling value of sleeping in a historic brewery. It absolutely justifies the price point. It's not just a bed, it's an extension of the destination's history.
Love that. Now for families, the logistics shift. You aren't looking for sake history. You need reliability, space, and international standards, especially in a foreign language environment when you have exhausted kids.
Right, practically over poetry.
Exactly. The JW Marriott Hotel Nara sits at 53,000 yen a night, roughly $355. It is incredibly convenient, literally 0.07 miles from the station. The rooms are spacious enough for luggage and strollers.
Perfect for families.
Alternatively, if you want something more visually engaging, there's the Anda Hotel Nara Wakakusayama. This is a bit more design-forward, located slightly out of the way near Mount Wakakusa, offering sweeping views of the city. It runs 63,000 yen a night, or $423.
And then we reach the luxury tier. This is where Nara is really starting to flex its muscles against Kyoto. You have Fufu Nara, a breathtaking boutique ryokan starting from 38,650 yen a night, about $258, which includes an incredibly intricate breakfast and dinner for two.
I'm going to interrupt you there because I need to underline how insane this pricing is.
Right.
Fufu Nara is my ultimate pick for luxury value in the entire Kansai region. If you look at the price-to-experience ratio, the level of service, the private hot spring baths, the kaiseki dining, you are getting an elite ryokan experience that beats every comparable property in Kyoto by 30 to 40% on price alone. It's an astonishing value proposition.
It really is an unparalleled deal right now. And if you prefer international luxury over a traditional ryokan, there is Shisui, a luxury collection hotel, sitting at 73,000 yen or $487.
Stunning property.
And for a deeply traditional, older, high-end ryokan experience right on the edge of the park, Koto no Yara Musashino is 70,000 yen or $469. And of course, we have to remind you of the upcoming Hoshino Prison Hotel opening in April 2026. Given the historical significance, it is expected to immediately become Nara's most distinctive and likely most expensive luxury property.
Okay, let's do the Kyoto tax math again, because this is where the spreadsheet proves the point definitively. Let's say you book a mid-range hotel in Kyoto for 20,000 yen a night. Kyoto immediately slaps an additional 1,000 yen per night municipal accommodation tax on top of your bill.
Which adds up.
Right. Now let's scale up. You book luxury. A 100,000 yen per night stay in Kyoto adds a brutal 10,000 yen per night in tax alone. In Nara, that tax is zero.
Zero.
If you book a 3-night luxury stay in Nara instead of Kyoto, you are saving 30,000 yen, $200 on tax alone. That's money that evaporates into the Kyoto city budget. In Nara, you keep it.
It's hard to argue with that.
And that's before we even factor in the reality that Nara's base room rates are already lower. The financial argument for sleeping here is almost bulletproof.
But staying overnight means you eventually have to eat dinner there. And just like the accommodation market, where you choose to eat makes a massive difference to both your wallet and the quality of your experience.
Right. Let's talk about the geography of food here.
Yeah.
Because there is a severe price cliff in Nara. You have the primary tourist zone, which consists of Sanjidori Street, and the immediate cluster of stalls near the Tadaiji Temple entrance.
Tourist trap central.
If you eat here, expect to pay between 800 and 1,500 yen, $5.30 to $10 for middling quality, mass-produced street food. Grilled mochi, matcha soft serve, little pastries shaped like deer.
They're cute, but yeah.
Here's my absolute golden rule for eating in Nara. Avoid any restaurant in the direct eye line of Tadaiji's main gate. Do not do it.
It's a universal truth, really.
It is a universal truth of travel that restaurants located next to major global monuments serve terrible food, and Nara is no exception. The tourist markup in that specific visual radius is 40 to 60% above the local baseline.
Yeah.
And the food is objectively worse because they don't rely on repeat local customers.
Instead, you simply walk 2 blocks away, heading south into the Naramachi district.
Exactly. You walk 15 minutes away from the temple, and suddenly that exact same quality lunch set drops from 1,500 yen down to 700 or 1,000 yen, roughly $4.70 to $6.70. And the quality skyrockets.
And Naramachi is where you find the real, deeply historic regional specialties. I mean, you have to actively seek out kakno sushi. This is a Nara original sushi wrapped tightly in persimmon leaves.
I always wondered about the mechanics of this, like why persimmon leaves?
It's a brilliant piece of ancient biochemical engineering. Nara is landlocked. Before modern refrigeration, getting fresh seafood from the ocean to the capital was incredibly difficult. It would spoil on the journey. But the locals discovered that persimmon leaves possess natural antibacterial properties due to high levels of tannins. Wrapping salted mackerel or salmon in these leaves preserved the fish for days.
That's fascinating.
Plus, the leaf imparts this incredibly subtle, earthy, slightly sweet aroma to the rice and the fish over time. You can get a beautiful traditional set at a highly respected local spot called Tanaka for about 1,000 yen, or $6.70.
Nice.
Then there are narazuke pickles. These are vegetables, often gourds or cucumbers fermented for months or even years in sake leaves, the byproduct of sake production.
Oh, I've had those. They're intense.
They are very pungent, very dark in color, and definitely an acquired taste, but they are deeply traditional and pair beautifully with plain white rice. You can grab a vacuum-sealed pack from the historic shops on Sanjidori for about 500 yen or $3.30.
Perfect for a souvenir.
And you absolutely cannot miss Nakatana-do.
Ah, the high-speed mochi pounders. You see them all over social media.
Yes, and it completely lives up to the hype. It's right on Sanjidori. The staff there hammer this green mugwort rice dough with giant, heavy wooden mallets at lightning speed. It's an aggressive, highly choreographed performance art.
Looks so dangerous.
They are yelling in rhythm to keep time so they don't crush each other's hands. But the result isn't just a show. It produces the softest, warmest, freshest mochi you will ever eat in your life, dusted with roasted soybean flour and filled with sweet red bean paste.
I'm getting hungry.
It's only 400 yen, $2.70 for an unforgettable snack.
But let's talk about the grocery strategy. Because if you are a budget traveler or a family trying to offset those incoming national visa fee hikes, knowing exactly where to buy staples is the key to financial survival.
Yes, groceries are a lifesaver.
If you want a massive full-size supermarket with the absolute best prices on fresh produce and meat, head to Aeon Nara, located on Route 169. For something slightly more convenient and mid-range, the Yokua supermarket near the Kintetsu station is fantastic.
And then, of course, there are the convenience stores.
The backbone of Japanese society. The ubiquitous convenience stores 7-Eleven, Family Mart, Lawson. Let's break down the exact real-world prices you will pay to feed yourself this way.
Give us the numbers.
An onigiri, a rice ball wrapped in seaweed, is 120 to 180 yen. That's 80 cents to $1.20. A full, freshly made bento box with rice, protein, and vegetables is 400 to 600 yen. $2.70 to $4.
That's such good value.
A 500 milliliter bottle of cold water, 100 yen, or 67 cents. A six-pack of Asahi beer to take back to your hotel, 1,200 yen, which is $8. A 2-kilogram bag of raw rice is 800 yen, or $5.30. A liter of fresh milk is 200 yen, but $1.30.
Honestly, it's so cheap.
And I need to emphasize this point heavily for Western travelers. Eating convenience store food in Japan is a high-quality, perfectly respectable strategy. It's not a grim compromise like eating from an American gas station.
No, absolutely not.
The quality control, the supply chain logistics, and the frequency of daily deliveries are exceptional. If you need to hit that low-budget tier, leaning on a Lawson bento box is a perfectly valid, genuinely delicious way to do it.
But whether you're eating a budget bento on a park bench or dining in a luxury ryokan, there is a strict code of etiquette in Nara that fundamentally affects how you move through the city.
Right, let's go over the rules.
First, the golden rule of Japanese temples and traditional architectural spaces. You must remove your shoes when entering any tatami mat room or temple interior. Look for the wooden cubbies at the entrance. Do not step on the raised wooden threshold with your shoes on.
Definitely.
Second, do not eat while walking, even in the tourist-heavy zones. If you buy street food on Sanjo-dori, stand near the stall, sit on a nearby designated bench, finish the food completely, and throw away the wrapper in the stall's specific bin.
Yeah, you see people doing that wrong all the time.
Walking down the street while chewing is considered quite rude and digitally messy.
Tipping is also completely off the table. Do not tip your waiter, your taxi driver, or your hotel staff. It's not done in Japanese culture. And leaving money on the table will only cause confusion and awkwardness as the staff literally try to chase you down the street to return your forgotten change.
Oh, that's happened to so many people. You'll also notice that many restaurants, especially casual ramen, udon, or curry spots, use meal ticket vending machines at the entrance.
Oh, I love those.
They're great. Instead of sitting down and waiting for a menu, you put your cash into the machine, press the button featuring a picture of your dish, and hand the printed ticket to the staff behind the counter. It's incredibly efficient and eliminates any language barrier regarding payment.
It really does.
And finally, regarding the historic Naramachi district, while it is undeniably charming, it is deeply traditional. The rhythm of life is slow. Many incredible restaurants and cafes there close their doors by 8 p.m.
Wow, early.
If you are a late eater who prefers a 9 p.m. dinner, you need to adjust your biological clock, or you will find yourself enacting the grocery strategy whether you plan to or not, simply because everything else is shut.
Which is a perfect segue into calculating your daily out-of-pocket budget. We're going to give you rapid-fire, exact daily totals per person to give you a rigid, highly practical financial framework for surviving and enjoying this city.
All right, hit me.
Let's start with the low budget, the true backpacker. The daily total is 6,500 yen, which is exactly 43 US dollars. Here is the rigid breakdown.
Okay, let's hear it.
2,500 yen for your hostel dorm accommodation. 2,000 yen for food. This assumes relying heavily on convenience stores for breakfast and lunch, and enjoying one sit-down budget meal, like a bowl of ramen for dinner.
Makes sense.
500 yen for transport. You're mostly using your legs, maybe taking one local bus if it's raining. 1,000 yen for attractions. This covers the interior ticket for Tadaiji to see the Buddha, and a pack of crackers for the deer.
Essential.
And 500 yen for miscellaneous expenses, like a coffee or vending machine drink, total $43. It's incredibly lean, but highly achievable.
Moving to the mid-tier, the mid-range couple. The daily total per person is 15,000 yen, or $100.
Breakdown, please.
Here's the breakdown per person. 7,500 yen for accommodation, assuming you split a comfortable 15,000 yen mid-range hotel room. 4,000 yen for food. This gets you breakfast at the hotel, a very nice traditional lunch set in Naramachi, and a solid multi-course local dinner with a beer.
Sounds like a great day.
1,000 yen for transport, mixing kintetsu trains, and the occasional local bus to save time. 1,500 yen for attractions, letting you see 2 major temple interiors plus the deer crackers.
Can't forget the crackers.
Never. And 1,000 yen for miscellaneous souvenirs or snacks. Total, $100 a day per person. It's the absolute sweet spot for value.
Next is the high tier, the luxury traveler. The daily total per person jumps significantly to 40,000 yen, or $267.
Okay, where's that money going?
Breakdown per person, 25,000 yen for accommodation. This assumes you are splitting a premium 50,000 yen ryokan room that includes elaborate half-board dining. 8,000 yen for food outside the ryokan, perhaps a high-end sushi lunch or visiting premium specialty cafes.
Nice.
2,000 yen for transport, allowing for the liberal use of taxis to skip the walking. 2,000 yen for attractions, comfortably covering all temple interiors, museum entries, and perhaps a guided cultural experience. And 3,000 yen for high-end miscellaneous purchases. Total, $267.
And briefly, we should touch on the digital nomad profile. If you are staying monthly, you are looking at a total cost of living of 250,000 to 350,000 yen a month. That's roughly 1,667 to $2,333.
Not bad at all.
But I must note a critical limitation here. Nara's modern co-working infrastructure is highly limited. Most nomads base themselves in the bustling energy of Osaka and just use Nara for focused, deep work retreats. The cafe Wi-Fi in Nara is generally reliable, but dedicated, community-driven social workspaces are scarce.
But let's bring the math back to the Kyoto comparison, because this is where the argument is won. A mid-range traveler is spending roughly 15,000 yen a day in Nara.
Right?
If you try to replicate that exact same day, the same level of hotel comfort, the same quality of meals in Kyoto, you are looking at spending 20,000 to 25,000 yen.
That's a huge difference.
Why? Because you have to add the municipal accommodation tax, the generally higher base prices of Kyoto hotels, and the massive friction that Kyoto has, dozens of famous temples that aggressively charge 400 to 600 yen entry fees just to walk onto the grounds.
Oh.
In Nara, the vast expanse of the park and almost all the temple exteriors are completely free to roam. Over a standard 3-day trip, a mid-range traveler saves between 15,000 and 30,000 yen. That is 100 to 200 US dollars directly back in your pocket, simply by choosing to sleep 35 minutes down the track.
But that immense cost advantage only actually works if you don't fall into the common logistical pitfalls that ruin the trip. Which brings us to the 3 named logistics traps that catch travelers off guard every single season.
Oh boy. Trap number 1. The day trip default mechanism.
This is, without a doubt, the biggest structural error tourists make in Kansai travel.
Totally self-inflicted too.
It is entirely self-inflicted, but heavily encouraged by the industry. Every major guidebook, every top 10 travel blog, they all regurgitate the exact same lazy advice. Do Nara as a half-day trip from Kyoto or Osaka. 3 to 5 hours is enough to see the deer and the Buddha.
And it's a disaster.
Here is the grim reality of following that advice. You arrive at 10 a.m., exactly when every other day tripper and school group arrives. You walk toward Tadaiji, and you are packed shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of tour groups following guides with little flags.
Just shuffling along.
You shuffle inside, see the giant Buddha. You feed some deer in a chaotic, stressful scrum of screaming tourists. You eat an overpriced melting matcha ice cream near the gate. And you get back on the crowded train at 2 p.m. and you leave thinking, well, Nara's nice, but it's a bit shallow. It feels a bit like a manufactured theme park.
You completely miss the actual magic of the city.
You miss everything that gives the city its soul. You miss the quiet reverence of the 3,000 lanterns glowing at Kasuga Taisha in the evening darkness. You miss the mist physically rolling through the empty temple approaches at dawn while the deer sleep under the trees. You miss the entire Naramachi historic quarter, which most exhausted day trippers never even have the time or energy to reach.
So what's the fix?
The fix is incredibly simple, but it requires breaking the herd mentality. Stay one night minimum, arrive by 8 a.m. before the buses, or commit to the afternoon into evening window. Nara explicitly vastly rewards the early mornings and the late afternoons. That midday crush is a manufactured reality. It is not the real Nara.
All right, trap number 2, the deer aggression miscalculation mechanism.
You underestimate this so much.
People arrive, they buy these deer crackers, shika senbei for 200 yen, which is about $1.30 a pack, and they instantly think they're starring in a Disney movie.
Like Snow White.
Right. They hold the crackers up high above their heads, they wave them around to get the perfect selfie angle. Some people even actively tease the deer, pulling the food away at the last second to get a reaction.
You don't do that.
Here is the blunt medical reality. These are wild animals with antlers and strong jaws. Every single year, there are over 200 reported deer-related injuries in Nara Park that require medical attention.
200.
We are talking about bites, aggressive headbutts, and physical charges that knock people to the ground. These deer have learned, through generations of classical conditioning, that the crackers mean food, and they will aggressively pursue tourists who wave that food around. A group of 5 or 6 hungry deer can surround a panicked tourist in seconds.
The fix here requires a basic understanding of animal behavior and respect for the local ecosystem. When you buy the crackers, feed them immediately. Do not loiter.
Good advice.
Break them in half to make them last a bit longer, but distribute them quickly and purposefully. Never hold them overhead, as that encourages the deer to rear up on their hind legs, which is when people get knocked over.
What if you get surrounded?
If you find yourself surrounded, feeling overwhelmed or intimidated, do not run. Simply raise your hands, open your palms toward the deer, and clearly show them you have empty hands. They are incredibly smart animals. Once they visually confirm the food is entirely gone, they instantly lose interest and peacefully walk away.
That's a great tip.
Also, you must engage with them properly. Bow to the deer before feeding them. Many of them will physically bow their heads back to you. This is a genuine learned behavior passed down through the herd over centuries, not a trained circus trick.
That's amazing.
And critically, if you are traveling with small kids, an adult must firmly hold and distribute the crackers while the child watches safely from the side. Do not put a toddler holding a cracker directly in front of a hungry 200-pound deer.
Trap number 3, the station confusion mechanism.
Oh, this catches everyone.
Nara has 2 main railway stations operated by entirely competing corporate entities. You have JR Nara Station, run by Japan Railways West, and Kintetsu Nara Station, run by the private Kintetsu Railway Company. They are not in the same place.
Not at all.
The reality of the map is that JR Nara Station is a solid 15 to 20-minute walk from the edge of Nara Park. Kintetsu Nara Station is a 5-minute walk.
Big difference.
It's huge. Tourists who buy the expensive nationwide JR Pass automatically route themselves to JR Nara because the train ticket is technically free. It's covered by their pass. Then they arrive, step out of the station, and wonder why they have to hike nearly a mile through an urban city center just to see a tree or a deer.
Right.
Even worse, tourists without a JR Pass sometimes default to JR trains anyway, simply because the JR routing algorithm often appears more prominently in English-language transit apps.
So what's the fix?
The fix here is absolute. Unless you possess an active JR Pass and your daily budget is so critically tight that you cannot spare $4 for a separate ticket, always take the Kintetsu line to Nara. It is a faster journey from Kyoto or Osaka, the trains run more frequently, and it drops you right at the immediate edge of the park.
Totally agree.
If you do choose to use JR to maximize your pass, just mentally budget for the extra walking time. It's not an unpleasant walk. It goes straight down Sanjo-dori through the commercial center, but it catches thousands of people off guard every day when they expect to step off the train directly into an ancient forest.
Those logistical traps tie directly into how comfortable or stressed you feel in the city. Let's look at the broader picture of safety, solo travel, and comfort.
Yeah, let's get into the risk hierarchy.
When we look at the overarching risk hierarchy, we have to start with the baseline fact that Japan is consistently ranked as one of the safest countries on Earth for tourists. And Nara, being significantly smaller, less dense, and much slower paced than Tokyo or Osaka, is even safer than the national average. Violent crime against tourists is essentially unheard of.
Right.
The real statistical threats in Nara are environmental and logistical. As we just discussed, deer-related injuries are by far the most common issue. After that, it is heat exhaustion.
Oh, the summer heat.
If you are stubborn enough to visit in July or August, the humidity is genuinely debilitating. It is a wet, heavy heat that aggressively saps your physical energy. And finally, twisted ankles. If you are climbing Mount Wakakusa or navigating the older temple paths, you are dealing with uneven stones and tree roots. You need proper supportive footwear.
I want to push back on something you touched on earlier. From a solo female travel perspective, how does Nara actually assess? Because quiet streets can sometimes feel intimidating.
It is exceptionally safe, even at night. The streets are well lit, the local residents are polite and helpful, and walking alone at night in the park area or through the dark alleys of Naramachi carries negligible risk. The regional train systems getting you in and out are among the safest, most heavily monitored in the world.
That's reassuring.
The only real, tangible downside for a solo traveler in Nara isn't safety. It's the atmosphere after dark. The nightlife is profoundly dead. If you're looking for evening social energy, vibrant bar hopping, or meeting other solo travelers in bustling hostels, Nara will feel deeply isolating. You will absolutely want to head back to the neon lights of Osaka for that kind of energy.
On the flip side, assessing this for families, I would argue, despite the deer issue, that Nara is the single best family destination in Japan.
I agree, but how do you reconcile that with your warning about the deer headbutts?
Because it's a completely manageable user error problem. It hits every other metric perfectly. It is incredibly safe from traffic and crime. It is geographically flat, which makes it totally accessible for pushing strollers on the main paved paths. The public restrooms are ubiquitous, free, and impeccably clean.
That is very true.
And from an engagement standpoint, it is unbeatable. You don't have to try to explain the complex historical significance of an 8th century Buddhist temple to a bored 5-year-old. The wild deer captivate them instantly and completely.
They love it.
You just have to manage the interactions, enforce the rules, keep an adult between the animal and the child, and it becomes a stress-free, awe-inspiring day that requires very little parenting effort compared to navigating the subways of Tokyo.
Regarding health and medical infrastructure, should anything happen, Nara Medical University Hospital is a world-class facility. You do not need any special vaccinations or precautions to visit. The local pharmacies are excellent and incredibly well-stocked.
What about medication?
The only major caution is that over-the-counter medication packaging is entirely in Japanese. The pharmacists often don't speak English, so if you rely on specific painkillers, allergy meds, or stomach remedies, bring them from home in their original packaging to save yourself a massive translation headache while you're feeling unwell.
And what about scams? Fake monks? Taximeters?
Virtually non-existent. There are no aggressive touts pulling you into overpriced bars, no fake taximeters taking you the long way, no counterfeit ticket sellers outside the temples. The absolute worst scam you will encounter in the entirety of Nara is a souvenir shop on Sanjodori charging 20% more for a deer magnet than the shop 2 doors down.
Which gives us a very clear, highly practical picture of the baseline experience. Let's elevate that and look at the extremes. Because even a great city has flaws, and we need to be honest about them.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the absolute highs. For me, the peak of the Nara experience is the sunrise walk to Todaiji. Waking up at 5:30 a.m., walking through the park with almost no one else around. The deer are quietly grazing in the morning mist, totally uninterested in food.
Magical.
And then the Daibutsudan, the world's largest wooden building, slowly emerges through the massive trees. It is silent. It is monumental. You realize the sheer scale of the engineering required to build this in the 8th century. I truly believe standing there at dawn is the single best free experience in all of Japan.
It's hard to argue with the power of that moment.
Yeah.
For me, the high point is the exact opposite end of the day. Dusk at Kasuga Taisha, walking that long, winding forest approach, lined with 3,000 stone and bronze lanterns as the natural light fades.
Incredible.
During the Mantoro festivals in February and August, when they light every single one of those lanterns simultaneously, it literally feels like stepping back 1,000 years in time. I also rank the Naramachi district incredibly high. The preserved merchant quarter, the traditional Mashiya wooden townhouses with their narrow fronts and deep interiors, the quiet little sake bars and independent coffee roasters hidden inside. It is exactly the aesthetic and vibe people go to Kyoto looking for, but you don't have to fight for elbow room to enjoy it.
We also have to list the Nakatana-do mochi pounding. It is theatrical, yes, it's built for Instagram, but the end product is phenomenal. And of course, Mount Yoshino's 30,000 cherry blossom trees, if you're willing to brave the logistics and time the season perfectly.
But we promised brutally honest logistics. We need to talk about the lows. No sugarcoating the bad parts.
Hit me.
The biggest disappointment for many, which we've mentioned but bears repeating, is Tadaiji at midday. Between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., the sheer crushing volume of tour bus groups strips the spirituality right out of the building. You are shuffling in a massive herd. It feels like a theme park queue, not a 1,300-year-old sacred temple holding a 500-ton bronze Buddha.
Another blunt reality, the nightlife. It doesn't just quiet down, it completely dies. By 9 p.m., the city is asleep. If you want cocktail bars, late-night ramen spots, or just ambient atmospheric energy after dark, Nara will deeply disappoint you.
Absolutely.
Also, let's talk about the smell, because nobody puts this in the brochure.
The summer musk.
Yes. In the peak of July and August heat, with over 1,000 wild deer concentrated in a damp park, the area develops a distinct, highly musky animal smell. It isn't overwhelming to the point of ruining the trip, you get used to it quickly, but it is instantly noticeable when you step off the train, and guidebooks never ever mention it.
There is also a major logistical disappointment regarding Horyuji Temple. This is a magnificent site. It holds the world's oldest surviving wooden structures. It is historically monumental for understanding early Japanese Buddhism, but it requires a tedious 45-minute local bus or train ride out of central Nara to reach it. Most visitors simply don't factor that transit time into their tight schedules, which leads to either extreme frustration trying to cram it in or just bitterly missing it entirely.
And finally, the dining scene. It is charming. The local specialties like the persimmon leaf sushi are great, but it lacks deep, varied culinary depth. By night 3, if you aren't eating at a different luxury ryokan, the food options start to feel highly repetitive.
They do.
Which leads me to a fundamental challenging question for you. Given the repetitive dining, the absolutely zero nightlife, the summer smell, and the fact that the core attractions are geographically concentrated, is Nara actually just a 2-night maximum city masquerading as a longer destination?
That's a very fair, highly pragmatic challenge. And honestly, I would say yes, it is a 2-night maximum city for the average international traveler. Unless you are specifically using it as a quiet, meditative retreat to write a book, or you are deeply invested in Buddhist architectural history and plan to spend days traveling out to the more remote regional temples like Horyuji, 2 nights is the optimal perfect dose. 2 nights gives you the dawn at Tadaiji, it gives you the dusk at Kasuga Taisha, it gives you a full afternoon exploring Naramachi, and then you leave before the charm wears off and the limitations of the city begin to frustrate you.
Which forces us to look at the other options on the table. If you only have limited time in Japan, what are the alternatives?
Right.
Alternative number 1 is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Kyoto. This is the city Nara is inevitably measured against. Kyoto is massive in scale. It has over 2,000 temples and shrines, compared to Nara's 8 UNESCO sites.
The scale is totally different.
The dining scene in Kyoto is legitimately world-class. The high-end kaiseki, the ramen alleys, the deep matcha culture. It operates on an entirely different culinary level. And the nightlife, especially around Pontocho Alley, actually exists.
But the friction of simply existing in Kyoto is currently at an all-time historical high. In 2026, you are dealing with a city fundamentally buckling under the weight of 50 million visitors a year.
50 million.
The municipal accommodation tax has tripled. The local bus system is effectively broken because it's flooded with tourists with luggage. The most famous sites, the Fushimi Inari Shrine Gates, the Golden Pavilion at Kinkakuji, the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove, are now so congested that physical, slow-moving queues start forming before the gates even open in the morning.
And mathematically, if we look at the spreadsheets, a mid-range couple is paying 25 to 35% more per day in Kyoto than in Nara for an equivalent standard of living.
That's a massive premium.
So the decision matrix here is clear. You choose Kyoto if you want endless cultural depth, world-class food, you have a week-long itinerary to burn, and you are entirely willing to pay the financial premium and fight the daily combat logistics of navigating those crowds.
Makes sense.
You choose Nara if you want the profound spiritual atmosphere of ancient Japan without the stress. And 2 days of highly concentrated, highly accessible history is your preference.
Alternative number 2, if we look beyond the Kansai region, is Kamakura. This is Japan's other famous ancient capital, serving as the seat of the military shogunate from 1185 to 1333.
Kamakura is great.
Kamakura is a coastal city located about 60 minutes south of Tokyo. It has its own iconic Great Buddha, though Kamakura's is outdoors and made of bronze, unlike Nara's massive indoor statue. It has excellent rugged hiking trails connecting the various Zen temples in the hills, and crucially, it has the beach and the ocean. In many ways, Kamakura serves the exact same accessible day trip function from Tokyo that Nara serves from Osaka and Kyoto.
Cost-wise, though, Kamakura is slightly more expensive. Accommodation averages about 10 to 15% higher than Nara because of its proximity to Tokyo wealth. It also has significantly less open green space than Nara Park.
But it has the ocean breeze, it has superior active hiking, and it has a slightly livelier surf culture evening scene.
So how do you choose?
You choose Kamakura if you are basing your entire trip in Tokyo. You want a mix of Zen temples and coastline, and you prefer active hiking over strolling through flat parkland. You choose Nara if you are based in the Kansai region. You highly value free access to temple grounds, you want the unique interactive deer experience, and you appreciate the much deeper historical claim of Nara being Japan's first truly permanent imperial capital.
All right, we have laid out the historical data, the macroeconomic realities, the costs, the logistical traps, and the alternatives. It is time for the final, is it worth it, matrix. We're going to give a definitive verdict for every specific traveler profile.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the backpacker on a strict budget. Is Nara worth it?
Yes, absolutely. At 6,500 yen, $43 a day, Nara remains one of the cheapest, highest value stops in all of Japan. You get free entry to the massive park, free interaction with the deer, and free access to wander the temple exteriors. You can find impeccably clean hostel beds from 2,500 yen. The only specific cost that stings is the temple interiors, but paying 600 yen $4 for Tadaiji is historically unmissable. If you stay just one night to break the day trip trap, you will experience a completely different, deeply atmospheric city that the budget day tripping crowds entirely miss.
Next, the mid-range couple. Is it worth it?
Yes, this is exactly Nara's demographic sweet spot. At 15,000 yen, $100 per person per day, you unlock incredible, undeniable value. You can stay in a beautifully preserved mid-range hotel like the converted Sake Brewery, eat excellent local food in Naramachi, and see all the major historical sites without paying the exorbitant Kyoto premium. 2 nights is the perfect length.
And the financial savings compared to Kyoto are mathematically undeniable. 15,000 to 30,000 yen saved per person over a 3-day Kansai stay. Plus, remember the transit reality. Nara is only 35 minutes from Kyoto by train. You can absolutely establish a cheaper, quieter, stress-free base in Nara and do a day trip to Kyoto to see the highlights, rather than doing it the other way around and paying the Kyoto tax.
That's the smart move.
What about the family profile?
Yes. As we debated, provided you manage the deer feeding properly, Nara might be the single best family day out in Japan. The deer captivate children of all ages instantly. The massive scale of Tadaiji delivers genuine awe, and the logistics are incredibly forgiving. It's flat, safe, and easily navigable with pushchairs. It removes the urban stress. 2 nights here gives families necessary breathing room and open space without the sensory overstimulation they will inevitably face in Tokyo or Osaka.
Now, the luxury traveler.
Yes, with conditions. The conditions are straightforward and must be respected. You must accept that Nara's broader luxury infrastructure is currently more limited than Kyoto's. Properties like Fufunara and Shisui deliver genuinely excellent world-class ryokan experiences, and the new Hoshino prison hotel opening in April 2026 is going to be globally recognized. But Nara simply does not have the economic depth to support a 5-night luxury itinerary with varied, elite fine dining every single night.
What's the play then?
The smart, strategic play for luxury is to pair 2 nights in Nara enjoying the incredible hotel value with 3 nights in Kyoto. That way, you capture the absolute best of both cities without overstaying Nara's more intimate scale.
Finally, the digital nomad and the solo traveler looking for a base.
Yes, with conditions. Nara is not a long-term base. The co-working spaces are scarce, the nightlife is near zero, and the social backpacker networking scene just does not exist here the way it does in Osaka or Tokyo.
Cool.
You will get lonely.
Yeah, you will.
However, as a 2 to 3 day retreat from Osaka, which is only 35 minutes away, Nara is superb. Solo travelers will find it deeply meditative, incredibly safe, and highly atmospheric. You can work from a quiet local cafe with reliable Wi-Fi, explore the temples in the misty mornings, and then return to Osaka when you desperately need social energy and a cocktail. Nara is the reset button, it is not the home screen.
So the math checks out perfectly, the logistics are deeply sound, and the value proposition is remarkably high across almost every single tier, provided you actually understand the structural limitations of the city and don't treat it like a theme park.
If Kyoto continues to price out and crowd out the average traveler with these aggressive taxes, does Nara's preservation by quietness make it the actual guardian of traditional Japanese culture? Or will it eventually be forced to adopt the same taxes and rules as its neighbor once the secret is fully out?
That is the honest verdict from Phil and H.